Currently in our quest system, for the two quests that we have set up XP as our reward, and we're going to set this up, and also we're going to set up the rest of the reward type as well. So let's go to our content drawer. In our core folder, open up quest system, blueprints, quest manager. And here I want to first start with creating a function, and this is going to be on quest completed. I want to use this function to run all of the things that needs to happen when a quest is completed, including when we go and update our quest queue. I want to use the on quest completed to run this update quest queue as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to paste it in here, and then connect the execution pin. Let's go ahead and delete this. And on this on quest completed, I'm going to add in an input, and this would be our quest info. And I'm going to make this into st quest data. And then drag off of this quest info, and we're going to break it. And then we're going to take our quest name and then plug it in here, just like this. One of my viewers in the previous video, Elkar, he actually mentioned that you can just drag off of this completed, and then you can do a make literal bool if you want to visualize to see if the bool is active or not. Appreciate your feedback. Now back in our on objective completed, we no longer need this quest name node. We need to call in this on quest completed, and again plug this in, and then we're going to send in the entire quest info through here. So if you go a little further back in our function, we actually have our entire quest data in our find node. So we're just going to drag this over, and we're going to plug it in here just like this. So that's it for this. So this on quest completed function will now run, taking care of all the things that we need to do when a quest is completed. So in our on quest completed, first we're going to go ahead and send in the update queue so that our notification shows up. Followed by this, we want to do our rewards. So let's do a new function, and we're going to name this function handle rewards. And this will require an input, and this would be our rewards info. And this would be of type st rewards. And back in our on quest completed, we're going to expand this break quest data. You'll see that the rewards is an array. I wanted to set it up this way because I want some quests to be able to hand out more than one rewards. It doesn't always have to be just one reward for one quest. So we're going to drag off of this rewards, and we're going to do a for each loop. And let's go ahead and connect this here. And for each of the loop body, we're going to call in this handle rewards function, and we're going to connect the array element in here. And after this is completed, we can always do a print string for now, and then say rewards handed out. Compile and save this. Now let's do our handle rewards. So we're going to drag off of this rewards info, and we're going to break it. We're going to drag off of our reward type, and we're going to do a switch function. Now for each of this execution, we can call in an interface function to handle this. So in our content drawer, we're going to go back to our core, interfaces, BPI quests. We're going to open this up, and we're going to do an add function. And this would be rewards underscore XP. We're going to add in another function. This would be rewards underscore gold. Next is our rewards underscore items. Next function would be rewards underscore skill points. And the last one would be rewards underscore area unlock. Now here I have added individual interface function for each and every single type of reward that we are able to provide our player. But in your game, you can try to combine all of these together. But ultimately, all of our different type of rewards are going to be spread across different blueprints. So that's why I am going to be using our interface function to call out these functions like this, because interface functions is very cheap to run. And if none of the blueprints actually implement this interface or have these functions, nothing's going to happen. So you're not really losing much over this. So that's why I'm going on with this interface function. So let's start with our rewards XP. So to hand out the rewards XP, we need to know how much XP amount we need to give the player. So I'm going to add in an input, and then this would be XP to add. And let's make this a float. Compile and save it. Now back in our quest manager, from here, I'm going to first get our player character. We're going to use our player character to hand out these rewards. So I'm just going to put the player character right here. drag off of this, and we're going to call our rewards XP function, and then drag off of this XP, connect it here. And as you know, there's an amount node in our break SD. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in here just like this. So now we can go to our content drawer, third person character, blueprints, third person character, blueprint. And then I'm going to go to our interfaces, and under this rewards, I'm going to double click on this rewards XP. That should add in a node here. And this, I can now drag our player stat manager and then call for add XP. Plug in this add XP, and then also this integer, I can just plug it in here and that will do its conversion. Compile and save. We can also add in a print string so we can see it on the screen, the amount of XP that was added. If I go ahead and press play, you can see that my XP mark is just over this half marker here. So I'm going to grab some quests, grab my weapon, and start killing some zombies. 1, 2, and 3. You should see at the very top, rewards handed out 100, and then also my XP bar went up a little. So this is great. I can now go ahead and delete this print string. We no longer need it. And that's it for XP. Next is the gold. Now, we don't really have a currency system in our game. However, we could set one up really quickly. In our third person character, I'm just going to go ahead and add in a variable. And this would be our gold pouch variable. And this, again, would be of type integer. Compile and save this. And I can go ahead and double click on my rewards gold. And here I can drag my gold pouch, and then I can do a get, and then I can add in a new amount. And we need an integer value for this. So in our BPI quest, under rewards gold, I'm going to add in a new input. And this would be gold to add. And then let's do a compile and save. Here, I'm going to add in the gold amount here, and we're going to do a set. And plug this in here. And that'll set up the gold, and it will add the gold to our pouch. This function will now get your existing amount of gold, and then it will add this gold that you just received from completing the quest, and it's going to set it up as your new gold amount. Very simple and straightforward. So in our BP Quest Manager, we're going to drag off of our player character, and we're going to do a rewards gold message. Make sure these are running as a message, not an event or a function. Next up is the item reward. So if you go to your third person character, in your components, if you right click on your backpack and then do an edit BPC backpack, you know that we have two functions, add to backpack weapons or add to backpack items. And if you open up this add to backpack item function, you can see that we set it up. So we have to provide in a quantity to add, and then also the item information itself. And if we go back to our content drawer, core folder, item system, and then open up our DT item data, let's go ahead and plug this in here. We already have the item information defined in our data table. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get the information from the data table. And the item ID in this case would be your row name. So how this would work is in our DT quest, let's say we're going to hand out a candy bar, right? So I'm going to copy this candy bar. So now we need to go to our content drawer, core, quest system, and in our data, we're going to go to our ST reward structure. And where you have your item ID, we're going to change this to a name. And then go ahead and save. Now, in your game, you can have both item ID and name, or you could just have the name. You could have just a number. Either way works. Because our data table has it set as the name, that's why I'm actually changing this to a name here. Now we can go ahead and save, and back in our DT quest, under the rewards section for this reward, I can now go ahead and change this to items, and then now we need to define the item ID. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in candy bar, and also set this to 1 candy bar. We don't want to hand out too many candy bars. So now that we have changed our item ID to name, like I mentioned before in our backpack, for us to add an item to our backpack, we need to provide the item information and also the quantity to add. So in our BPI quest, we're going to select our rewards item, and we're going to add in a input, and this would be our item info. And this would be of type S item info. And also our another input, which would be our quantity to add. And this would be of type integer. Compile and save this. Now in our BPC Quest Manager, off of items, I'm just going to drag this a little further down. I'm going to go ahead and say get data table row. Because we already know which data table that we're going to be using and also the row, I'm going directly to the row and then name this as DT item data. And then the row name would come directly from this name right here. And then plug this in here just like this. And now you got yourself your item info. So off of your player character, we can just drag and say rewards, items, plug in your row found here, and also the out row will go to your item info. And your amount will now be plugged into your quantity to add. And the next thing is go to your third person character and then go to our interface function, double click on this reward items. Here we're going to drag in our BPC backpack and drag off of our BPC backpack, and we're going to call in our function add to backpack items. And now we're going to go ahead and plug this in here, and also the item info to item info and the quantity to add to quantity to add. You can actually put in a complete new function to handle if the item overflows. For example, if your backpack is full and the player finishes a quest, then your failure node is going to fire here, and you can create an entirely new function to control that. But in most games, if they want to be brutal, like, if your backpack is full and if you try to finish a quest, they would usually just lose those items, or they would have like a postmaster system, and then they would send these items to postmaster system. Let me know if you would like to see that postmaster system, so I can definitely work on creating a tutorial to create that postmaster system. So any leftover items that you cannot collect because your backpack is full will then just go to the postmaster. So now we can go ahead and press play. I currently have no items in my possession, so I can go ahead and kill 3 zombies here. 1, 2, 3. You can see the feed just updated as well, and also I got a choco bar added to my inventory. So that's how simple it is to add our items to backpack as well. Let's move on to the next one. The next one's going to be skill points. The skill points, we're going to do the exact same thing as our gold. We don't have a skill point system in our game at this time. We are going to be adding one eventually, but for the time being, we're just going to consider this as gold. So in our third person character, add in a new variable, and this would be our skill points remaining. Let's go ahead and double click on our skill points rewards. We need to provide the amount for our skill point event. So in our BPI quest, we're going to select our reward skill point, add in an input, and this would be our quantity to add. Compile and save this. And in our third person character, we're going to do the same thing that we did with the gold pouch. Drag in our skill points remaining. We're going to add this new quantity here, and then we're going to set this as our new skill point value. When we build our skill point system, we will come back and expand this. But for now, this should do the trick if you want something very simple in your game. And in your BPC quest manager, off of your player character, we can just drag off of this and we can call for rewards skill points. I'm just going to move this down here and connect this to the skill point node. And the amount to add, we're just going to plug it in here, just like this. Compile and save it. We don't really have to test it because we're just adding an additional number. And last is the area unlock. The area unlock, how I envision this is for the player to be able to access a new area whenever they complete a quest. This could be part of a main quest reward, it could be part of a side quest reward. Usually in games, you have to do some side quests to get to the next area, or even complete the main quest to get to the next area. We don't have a map system, or we don't even have an environment system for us to control this at this time. So for the time being, I am just going to leave this empty. And when we get to the point where we are able to hand out the player with some new areas, then we will go ahead and hand the player out with some area information. So apologies for that. You guys would just have to wait for our area system or our environment system to come into play before we can actually go and put any type of functions for this. You could, for the temporarily time being, I can show you that, let's say your reward is going to be area unlock. So you can go to your DT quest, set this reward type to area unlock, and the item ID, you would just name this to area 3 or whatever the name of your map is. And then you can always add this to an array of names. Using your player character, you would then call for rewards area unlock. And then this rewards will require an input of area unlocked. and this would be name. Compile and save this. And in your quest manager, you will plug in your item ID here, and then also the area unlock. Let's plug it in here. And in your third person character, for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new variables, and I'm going to call this unlocked area. And this would be of type name and also variable type array, because you would have more than one area unlocked. So we want to put that in an array. And we're going to double click on our rewards area unlock and drag in this unlocked area. And we're going to add in unique because you don't want to add the same area twice. We want to only add the area or new area just once. So that's why we're going to use this unique node. So if this area already exists as an unlocked area, then this node is not going to do anything. Additionally, to tidy this up, you can always drag off of this amount and make it into a local variable, and then make this as local underscore amount, and then promote this to a variable as soon as this function starts. And also the item ID, we can promote it to a local variable, and then name this local underscore item ID, and promote this to a variable as well. And now we can go ahead and hold down Alt on your keyboard, and you can just click to disconnect both of these. And then item ID would be plugged into this item, local item ID here. And also this amount will be plugged into our local amount. Do a compile. And here, now we can just drag in our local item ID and then plug it in wherever is required. And now we can drag in our local amount and plug it where it is necessary, just to keep it clean so you don't have 1700 wires just running around everywhere. And don't forget to plug this execution pin to your switch. All right, folks, so that's it for today. I just wanted to show you a simple reward system. Reward system does not have to be too complicated. A simple reward system should be good enough. In our next video, we will expand a little bit more on this reward system. But for now, thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate your time here. If you like this video, hit that like button and also subscribe. Maybe share it with somebody who might be interested in this type of content. And thank you very much for all the support and the wonderful comments that I've been receiving. Keep them coming. Ask me what you would like to see in our next upcoming tutorials, and I'll be more than happy to make it for you. Thank you once again. Have yourself a great day. I'll catch you all in the next video.